Welcome back to Political Science class session number 1 of the day. And today we know that almost your projects are completed. Some students already sent the draft copy for me. At the same time, I told you that that same topic you should present as a seminar. And today ICD is ready to present the seminar. So over to ICD. Come on, ICD, you can start now.
A very good morning to all. I'm here to take the seminar on the topic international organizations. So first of all, let's know what an international organization is. An international organization is created by a response to states. It comes into being when all states agree to its creation. It helps the matter of war and peace and help to create better living conditions all over the world. So they produce information about and ideas about how to cooperate and produce a common platform to discuss about many issues and find solutions to it. And UN is generally regarded as the most important international organization in the present days. Many countries have to come together to discuss issues and find a common solution. And such issues are in case of a disease or global warming. So the present scenario is a great example. In case of corona, all the countries have to cooperate together to find a common solution, and all the countries have to stay together in order to defeat it. Next, let's discuss more about the UN. The evolution of UN. UN was found immediately after the Second World War in 1945 as a successor of League of Nations. At present, the UN has 193 members. The UN's representative head is the Secretary General. The UN consists of many specialized agencies to deal with social, economic issues such as WHO, UNDP, UNHRC, UNHCR, UNICEF, and UNESCO. So it was set up through the signing of the UN Charter by 51 states, and its objective is to prevent international conflict and create cooperation among different states. Next, let's discuss about the principal organs of the UN. The first principal organ of the UN is the Security Council. There are 15 members with 5 permanent members and 10 non-permanent members. The 10 non-permanent members are elected for 2-year terms, and here we have a picture of it. The 5 permanent members have the veto power, and the 5 permanent members are the US, China, UK, France, and Russia. Next, the General Assembly. It consists of representatives from all 193 states, each with 1 vote. Major decisions require 2/3 majority. So, in General Assembly, there are 193 members in the total, and most of the decisions are not binding on the UN. And each member has 1 vote, and all the decisions require at least a 2/3 of a majority, or otherwise a simple majority is enough. Then the Secretariat. It consists of international staff serving other principal organs and is headed by the Secretary General. The present Secretary General of the UN is Antonio Guterres. He is the 9th Secretary General of the UN, and he is from Portugal. And here we have a picture of Antonio Guterres and the Secretary General Assembly. Next, we have Economic and Social Council. So it consists of member states elected by the General Assembly for overlapping 3-year terms. There are 54 seats based on geographical representation. So the Economic and Social Council is elected by the General Assembly, and it is for a 3-year term. and there's a total of 54 seats. Next, we have the International Court of Justice. There are 15 judges elected for 9 years by absolute majority in both the General Assembly and the Security Council. So the judges appointed in the International Court of Justice is elected from both the General Assembly and the Security Council, and that too for 9-year terms.
Okay.
And the Trusteeship Council, now presently the Trusteeship Council is not there. It was dismissed. So it was suspended on 1st November 1994 with the independence of Palau, the last UN trust territory.
Okay.
Next, we go on to the reforms of the UN after the Cold War. So first we'll discuss about the reforms, and then we'll go on to what caused these reforms. What are the changes that occurred after the Cold War? So the two basic kind of reforms faced by the UN is the reform of the organization's structure and process, and a review of the issues that fall within the jurisdiction of the organization. So first, the reforms of the organization structure and process. The biggest discussion is about the function of the Security Council. And there was also discussions based on the increase of membership from Asia, Africa, and South America. Improvement, then the other one was about the improvements in the UN's budgetary procedures and its administrations. We'll discuss more about it in the coming topics. Then, in review of the issue that fall within the jurisdiction of the organization, some countries or experts play a greater some countries or expert expects UN to play a greater role in peace and security missions, whereas others want its role to be confined to development and humanitarian work, such as health, education, environment, population control, human rights, gender, and social justice. So here the main issue is about the jurisdiction. Some want its jurisdiction to be constricted just within a few areas, but others want it to be expanded and it want its involvement in more areas. Now, we'll discuss about the changes that occurred after the Cold War. So after the Cold War, the Soviet Union has collapsed. And now there is only one power, which is the US. It has become the dominant power and became to dominate the whole world. We can say that. Then the second, the US is the strongest power. Since the Soviet Union has collapsed, it is only the US that exists now, because before the Cold War, there were two emerging powers, which was the US and the USSR. But after the
world. Yeah, the bipolar world, right?
Yes.
Now what happened? Unipolar.
Now it became unipolar after the collapse of Soviet Union.
Soviet Union, right.
Then the relationship between Russia and US is much more cooperative, since after the collapse of Soviet Union, Russia began to adopt democracy and adopted democracy. Policy of cooperation. Policy of cooperation. So there were more common it became more common between US and Russia, and rivalries were also lessened. So there were more cooperation within US and Russia. China is a fast emerging as a great power, and India is also growing rapidly. After the US and the Russia, now China and India is becoming emerging powers. So that occurred after the Cold War. The economies of Asia are growing rapidly at an unprecedented rate. The economies of Asia are growing rapidly. The reason is that before the Cold War era, most of the countries in Asia were under the British rule or by the colonial powers. And by the end of the Cold War, most of these countries got independent and were on their way to development. So many emerging economies were coming, especially from Asia. Many new countries have joined the UN since many colonial powers have moved from most of the countries in Asia. Many countries were becoming independent, and not only in Asia but other continents also. So more countries were now joining the UN. A whole new set of challenges confronts the world, since most of the countries had to begin from the first step after their independence. A lot of challenges were there for most of the countries and the world, and for the world to face. Next, reform of structures and processes. In 1992, the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution. The resolution reflected three main components. The Security Council no longer represents contemporary political realities. Its decisions reflected only Western values and interests and are dominated by a few powers. It lacks equitable representation. So in the Security Council, there are 5 permanent members and 10 non-permanent members. So for the 5 permanent members, there are permanency and veto power, and each has 1 vote. So that is what the first one says. It doesn't represent the contemporary political realities. Most of the main countries or the main powers which dominated the world were only there in the Security Council. So the emerging countries were not involved in it.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay, basically after the Second World War, these 5 powers, basically considered as the superpowers, right? Yeah. So they only they are aware about that country's development. Okay, those countries' development and not that much interested in the development of the modern world. Clear? Understanding or not? So number of other countries also become independent today after the Second World War. We know that. Okay, the colonialism got an end. Okay, number of new countries emerged, independent countries emerged. And these these permanent members in the Security Council, they don't have that much interest in the development of those countries. That's what. Okay, they are not that much interested in the contemporary political realities. Clear? Okay, Shreya, continue.
That's what the first point means. Now,
Yeah,
the
fine.
second point is its decisions reflected only Western values and interests and are dominated by a few powers. The few
Okay, so
powers.
we know that. So these superpowers or these permanent members in the Security Council, basically, they are from Europe, right? And one is from that is America. One is America. Almost all other countries are from Europe. They are basically speaking. So except China. So all the other 4 countries, they are mainly they are giving importance for the Western values, and the least importance for the other cultures. Okay, come on.
Then the third point is that it lacks equitable representation. It means only these 5 members were there and the 10 non-permanent members, and it was not having an equitable representation because the 5 members already have the veto power, and most of the decisions it relies upon them. If they think it's benefiting them, they can take it, or else if they think it is a threat to them, they could just use their veto power. So there was not equitable representation. It was mainly the domination of the 5 powers. Then on on 1st January 1997, the UN Secretary General Kofi Annan initiated an inquiry into how the UN should be reformed. So there were a lot of problems, and on 1st January 1997, there came an inquiry about how these problems can be solved or how the UN should be reformed. So there was problems and validity for each criteria about the new member it has to choose. So now we'll talk about if a new country has to come into the 5 superpowers, what all features it should have. So a new member, it has suggested, should be a major economic power, a major military power, a substantial contributor to the UN budget, a big nation in terms of its population, a nation that represents democracy and human rights, a country that would make the council more representative of the world's diversity in terms of geography, economic system, and culture. So when we look at these points, we can clearly state that India is eligible to be in that. But there were problems in
So we are able to support India's candidatureship to the Security Council as a permanent member, right?
Yes.
Okay, because all these criteria are fulfilled, right? Okay,
Yes.
fine.
But there were some problems for each criteria. In case of geography, one seat from Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean. And why not the use of economic power to compare? So they were using geography as a terms for a new state to come. But the question is that why not use the economic status of that country for involving that country into the member, being a member?
Okay.
Next, we'll talk about the jurisdiction of the UN. The heads of all the member states met in September 2005 to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the UN and to review the situation. So there was again a meeting in September 2005. It was mainly to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the UN, and also they were also meant to review the situation, how the reforms are going on. So the steps to make UN more relevant in the changing context. So they took more relevant steps if they felt that the other few steps were not much relevant or not much effective. So they thought of bringing in more relevant steps. And those changes are the creation of Peace Building Commission, acceptance of the responsibility of the international community in case of failures of national governments to protect their own citizens from atrocities. We have a very good example now in the case of Afghanistan. The government is failing to protect its citizens, or we can say the government has almost collapsed. So we've already read in newspapers or have heard in the news that the G7 countries have hold a meeting to decide on what they have to move to protect that country. So we have a very good example in the present day condition for the second point. Then establishment of Human Rights Council, agreement to achieve the Millennium Development Goals. So there are some goals set up which the UN has to achieve. For example, we have the 2030 Substantial Development Goals, which are going on now. And it has many other goals as subs in it. Then condemnation of terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, creation of a democracy fund, and an agreement to wind up the trusteeship council. So we know that now the trusteeship council is not there. It was already dismissed after the freedom of the last country, which is the Paolo. Next, India and the UN reforms. So India has supported the restructuring of the UN in several grounds. One of India's main concerns was about the composition of the Security Council. India itself wishes to be a permanent member in a restructured UN, and despite India's wish to be a permanent veto-wielding member of the UN, some countries question its inclusion. So India has always supported and has a quite a good share uh, in its budget of the UN. Then India was also supporting in increasing the number of permanent and non-permanent memberships. Then India also was very much, India also liked to be a permanent member in the restructured UN. And India also had the features to be in it. And despite India's wish to be a permanent member, there were other countries that questioned its membership. So the problems was that India always had troubled relationships with Pakistan. So other countries says that the troubled relationship between Pakistan and India may lead to many wars. So it can always have a disturbed relations, and India won't be able to perform as a good permanent member in the UN Security Council. Then other members also question about India's nuclear weapon capabilities. Then they also say that India would be an ineffective member, being a permanent member, and will have to and if India is added as a permanent member, there will be other countries which they have to accommodate, such as the emerging powers of Brazil, Germany, Japan, and South Africa. And most of the countries were against the inclusion of South Africa in it. Now we have the UN in a unipolar world. Unipolar world in the sense, before the Cold War, it was a bipolar world where the two major powers was the US and the USSR. And after the Cold War, it has become into a unipolar world where the major power is in the hands of US and not the USSR, since the USSR was disintegrated. So the UN is not a great balance to US because US power cannot be easily checked. US is a major contributor in the United Nations, and in terms of military and the financial capabilities, US is much more better than the United Nations. And hence, it is said that US can even control the United Nations in any terms. First of all, with the disappearance of the Soviet Union, the US stands as the only superpower. As we said before, the Soviet Union is no more after the Cold War, and the only major power that stands is the US, and it has become as a superpower. Secondly, within the UN, the influence of US is considerable. This is what we said before about the share of US in the UN's budgetary plans. US has the major share of about 22%. And in terms of military also, US is much far better in terms of development and the number of military it has. Nevertheless, in a unipolar world in which the US is dominant, the UN can be served to bring the US and the rest of the world into discussions over various issues. So it says that even though it is a unipolar world and the US is the dominant one, UN has the power to bring, or the main role of UN can be to bring the US and the rest of the world into discussions over various issues. So there may be many countries which may be against the US or may have some issues with the US or its reforms or any plans that the US propose. So the UN will be able to bring those into discussions along with the US and find proper solutions to it. So it doesn't mean that being in a unipolar world, US has the dominant power. Yes, it do, but the UN also has the UN is also capable of distinguishing the powers and ensuring equality to all the countries. It is in it, which is included in it.
No.
Now we have the major organs, which is the International Monetary Fund, IMF. The IMF is an international organization that oversees those financial institutions and regulations that act at international level. It was established in 1944. There are 189 member countries. And here we have the G7 countries, which are the US, Japan, Germany, France, UK, Italy, and Canada. So International Monetary Fund is an international organization. Its main role is in regulating the financial structure at the international level. It was established in 1994 and there are a total of 189 members. Next, we have the World Bank. Its activities are focused on the developing countries. It was established in 1944. The World Bank works for human development, agriculture, and rural development, environmental protection, infrastructure, and governance. So World Bank helps the developing countries and so much of monetary support is given by the World Bank. It was established in 1944. So 1 second, I have something to take.
Okay.
So it also has its concerns on human development, agricultural and rural development, environmental protection, infrastructure, and governance. So it can give support to other countries in all these terms. Next, we have the World Trade Organization, WTO. The WTO is an international organization which sets rules for global trade. It was set up in 1995 as a successor to General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs, GATT. It has 160.
GATT. The GATT agreement, GATT, GATT.
So the WTO is mainly set up to set the rules for the global trade, whether to remove the restrictions, tariffs, and all. It gives suggestions to countries to make trade better. And it was set up in 1995 as a successor to GATT. And presently it has 164 members. Next, the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAES. It seeks to promote peaceful use of nuclear energy and to prevent its use for military purpose. It was established in 1957. It came into being to implement the US President Dwight Eisenhower's Atoms for Peace proposal.
Dwight Eisenhower. Yeah, so okay, fine.
So it is established to promote peaceful use of nuclear energy and to prevent its use for military purposes and to cause a great destruction. It was established in 1957, and the reason for its implementation was because of the proposal of the US President Dwight Eisenhower's Atoms for Peace, and not for any military purpose.
Okay.
Next, we have the Amnesty International. Before it was working in India, but due to some issues with the government, it has stopped its
Central
working.
government.
Huh?
Problem with the central government, not any other government.
Yeah. So it is an NGO. That NGO means non-governmental organization.
Okay.
It is an NGO that campaigns for the protection of human rights all over the world. It was established in 1961 and it prepares and publishes reports on human rights. So most of the countries are against it because it will bring out the corruptions and problems that occurs in each countries or mainly within the government itself.
So Amnesty International reports are always against the governments of the countries. Okay. So no governments are that much interested with the functions or activities of Amnesty International. As a result of that, Amnesty International is moved away from India too. Okay. Good one. Come on.
So it mainly protects the human rights of all the people, and it prepares and publishes reports on human rights, and it was established in 1961.
Good.
Next, we have the Human Rights Watch. It is an international NGO involved in research and advocacy on human rights. It was established in 1978. It helped in building international coalitions like the campaigns to ban landmines, to stop the use of child soldiers, and to establish the International Criminal Court. So it also has a role on the advocacy of human rights, just as the Amnesty International, but it helps in building international coalitions or in some groups or campaigns that to ban or to stop big problems. To stop issues that can create big problems to a great number of people, such as landmines.
So the issues that can create destruction for a group of people or destruction for a humanity or something like that, right?
So it is also, in a way, it also stops the human rights of other people. So such issues. and to stop the use of child soldiers and to establish the International Criminal Court. And it was established in 1978. Now we have a few cartoons here. Let's see what it means. The first cartoon is a boat in which there are, in one side we have the large and heavy animals. In the other side we have small and light animals. In the middle,
Small
the
and light
person.
animals. Okay. Go on.
In the middle, we have a person standing, and it represents the UN. So it shows that the right side, the heavy animals shows the major 5 superpowers, which takes the major decisions in the UN, and the other side have the other countries with the membership, which doesn't have great role and doesn't have the veto power or permanency. So the UN is trying to avoid the conflict between the both and trying to balance its power. So what the UN can do is just tell the superpowers that their power is supreme and it is not equitable or balanced. That is what the first cartoon shows. The second cartoon
So
shows
number of organizations are there under the United Nations, right? Like ILO, WHO, or what you can say that UNICEF, okay, World Bank, IMF, okay. So in almost well-rated organization, almost all these organizations basically controlled by these 5 powers, clear or not? The economically developed countries there. So it is not favorable for other member countries, right? Yes or no?
yes.
That's the meaning of the cartoon. The meaning of the cartoon. So UN is there, but the distribution of power in the UN is not balanced one. Clear or not? The superpowers are enjoying something more, or the developed countries are enjoying something more than the underdeveloped countries or developing countries. Okay, so your intention is good, Aishwarya. Continue.
Next, in the next cartoon, we have a hot air balloon with a lot of holes and with the symbol of the UN's flag. And it shows that there are a lot of problems within the UN itself, in which only some are being resolved, while the others are still not being resolved, or the UN is unable to bring in solutions or to find the correct solution to all those problems. So that is what the second cartoon means.
Yeah, so good interpretation too. Okay, fine. Move forward.
That was all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Aishwarya. I think it's pretty good. Okay. So Aishwarya just completed her seminar, and I was positive to that. Okay, our presentation was good, and almost all the part of the chapter is covered in that. Right. Okay. Anyway, as within short notice, she presented that. I appreciate Aishwarya for that too. Other students, okay, tomorrow onwards, what time we start? Tomorrow we'll call. Tomorrow, Alvina, are you ready? So be ready for the battle. Okay, so I can call Alvina, I can call Ashish, I can call Vishma, or I can call Amal Raj. Okay, so be ready with your seminar. Okay, anytime I'll call you to present the seminar there. So please be prepared. Okay, and today we want to write 2 more question answers here. Okay, so the almost all the chapter, that is what is the name of the chapter? The International Organization. It's almost completed for us. Okay, along with the ICDS seminar. Again, some more things are there, and you have to discuss about the one-word answers there. Okay, so we can some time for that. Okay, 2-3 classes we need. So just read this question. How many member countries have got veto powers? How many member countries have got? How many member countries have got veto power? How many member countries have got veto power? How many member countries got the veto power in the UN in the UN Security Council, and why? The UN Security Council, and why? The UN Security Council, and why? Answer is here. I will repeat the question one more time for you. How many member countries have got veto power in the UN Security Council, and why? Answer: 5 permanent member countries, 5 permanent member countries. 5 permanent member countries, that is France, comma Russia, UK, US, and China got veto power. China got veto power because they have been emerged as industrially developed countries, to take any decision, to take any decisions. To take any decision. Next question. Mention any two advantages. Mention any two advantages. Mention any two advantages of having international organization in the world. International organization in the world. Mention any two advantages of having international organization in the world. First point, answer first point. To help countries in the matters of conflicts and differences. To help countries in the matters of conflicts and differences. Conflicts and differences. To help the countries in the matters of conflicts and differences. Second one, to make the countries cooperate. To make the countries cooperate. To make the countries cooperate and create better living condition for the humanity. And create better living condition for the humanity. And create better living condition for the humanity. Okay. So almost all the topics for the first term, it is completed. Okay. And one chapter from second term also be completed. Okay. Clear or not? And next class onwards, the seminars will go on. At the same time, please complete your project and submit that to me. Okay, at any time, coordinator will ask that. So before that, please complete it. Okay, and at the same time, we will start the new chapter in the next session. Okay, clear or not? Some more 1 mark answers also I want to discuss. MCQ want to discuss. Boxes from the chapter also want to discuss. So for that, we will take 2 periods. Then we will start another chapter. Okay. Okay, everyone. Thank you. We will meet in the next session.